In the opening scene, we see Jordan walking into the school, excited for the last day of school. Walking in, she's surprised to see all the Christmas decorations and the festivities that the students have set up. Shortly, she finds herself in Ava's classroom and wonders where Stella is. Ava lets her know that Stella is in her classroom, but as Jordan approaches her desk, she sees that Stella is asleep. All she does is clear her throat, and that makes Stella fall off her chair, claiming that she only fell asleep because she was early. Stella struggles to sit back on the chair. However, once she straightens up, they make plans for lunch. The bell rings, so all the teachers head to their classrooms. While Jordan is in her classroom teaching art, Ava runs into her colleague Ben, who she's madly in love with. Their conversation starts on an awkward note, but what's even more awkward is that they expose each other for knowing each other's usual lunches. It's evident that they like each other, but it will take a lot for any of them to make the first move. Given that Christmas is close by, Ben asks about her plans. Surprisingly, she'll be in town because her family is visiting, so he invites her to the Santa Summit. Not knowing how to say no, also wanting to spend time with him, she promises to be there. After finishing their classes, Stella decides to stop by the theater where she sees her old choir. Seeing them singing and practicing without her makes her sad, which is why she decides to step out. Over at Jordan's classroom, she can't help but check her ex's social media as she decides to take a break from painting. Same as her friend Stella, gets saddened seeing him happy with another woman. However, she comes across his post about the Santa Summit and gets a crazy idea. Running to the cafeteria, she sees Stella sitting by herself, so she decides to ask her about her plans. Stella reveals that she'll probably be at home drinking wine, but Jordan suggests they go to the summit, despite knowing she won't be up for the idea. As expected, she declines her offer, but Ava comes by and surprises them by saying that she wants to go. Stella sticks to her answer, so Jordan informs them that her ex Nick is seeing another girl. Going to the party would be life-changing for them, because Jordan wants to find a spark that will keep her going, especially after everything has happened to all of them. She tries, but it isn't enough for Stella. What gets her though is when Jordan and Ava start dancing, so she agrees to go just to make them stop. It cuts to the following day where they were introduced to the brothers Liam and Mac. While Liam is excited to be moving to a new town and visiting such a special festival, Mac lets him know that they'll be doing some networking as well. Liam stops in his tracks as he can't believe that Ma is using their bonding time for business. Mac assures him it'll be just the two of them for the whole day, since his wife will be watching the kids. Appreciating how much his brother is willing to do for him, Liam decides to thank him in person. However, given that Mac is not sentimental, he begins to feel awkward as his brother tells him he loves him. Everyone seems excited as we see people of all ages come together and chant Santa Summit. The girls finally arrive dressed like Santas, and as they get in line for a pub, Ava decides to read some fun facts about the Santa Summit. Every person can feel the excitement, so everyone waiting in line starts chanting. Jordan and Ava join, but as Stella tries to leave, they drag her inside the pub, not noticing Jordan's wallet fall out of her pocket. As they enter, they head straight to the bar, but Jordan notices her wallet is missing, so she runs out to look for it. Wasting no time, Ava wanders into the public to look for Ben, leaving Stella completely alone. Outside the pub, we see the brothers negotiating how to execute their networking tactics before coming up with a plan. As they settle on going in, Liam notices Jordan's wallet, so he tells his brother that he'll come in shortly. Looking around, he tries to spot someone looking for a missing item when he sees Jordan. Handing her the wallet, he compliments the look of it, and Jordan reveals that she had painted the house herself. Assuming it's her house, he gets surprised as she explains that it's her dream house. Given that she had moved a lot while being young, she never had a place she could call home, so she decided to paint one on her wallet. Interested in her story, he asks more about the house, and she tells him all about it. Luckily for her, he reveals to be a house builder and offers to make her dream house if she wants to one day. Giggling, she asks him to promise, so he lifts 3 fingers to make his promise known. As the Santa jacket sleeve falls down his hand, she can't help but notice the tattoo of what seems to be a Christmas tree on his hand. However, it touches her heart when he reveals that it's a pine tree, and since he works on repairing old houses, and the pine tree is old but durable, it's a sentimental tattoo for him. Despite loving the job, he admits to getting burnt out, and a way to deal with it has been doing all the things he loves. Jordan laughs as she realizes he has said a lot to someone he doesn't even know, so she decides to call him out for it. He admits to being vulnerable, and she's surprised at how textbook perfect he is. Inside the pub, Stella finds herself at the bar when an unknown man sits next to her. While she's annoyed by the festivities, he seems to love it, so they start bickering over whether Christmas celebrations are good or not. He challenges her to say something good about Christmas, and she gives props to its marketing. Not letting him get away with testing her, she challenges him to say something bad about Christmas, given that he's very fond of it. But she can feel her eyes rolling back as he claims the bad thing is that it lasts for a day. She continues the discussion about Christmas, but as she takes her eyes off him, he disappears. Outside the pub, Liam and Jordan seem to be hitting it off. What surprises them most is their similar interests and likings, especially in food. So, when he asks for her favorite drink, she tells him he can buy her one. They immediately walk back into the pub, but as they get in, they get tripped by a crowd of people. They get up and hold hands on their way to the bar. However, as they sit down, they realize that they've gotten the wrong person, given that everyone's dressed in Santa costumes. Jordan runs to search for him, but she comes across Stella, telling her all about him. She realizes that she never got his name, but lets her know about his tattoo. Ava joins them pretty soon and tries to hide that she'd been looking for Ben, but they know she's lying. They get back to Jordan's mysterious man, and given that she's driven by love, Stella and Ava decide to help her track down the man of her dreams. Completely unaware, as they head to the exit, she bumps into her mystery man, but does nothing about it. Outside the club, Jordan goes over their plan for the day, including all the stops before the final concert at the end of the night. Stella complains about already being tired, but Jordan reminds her that something magical could be in store for all of them. As they visit the next place, they decide to have some fun and try volcanic cocktails. Jordan starts going on about the mystery guy's magical eyes, but Stella doesn't believe she's seen the spark after talking to him for a couple of minutes. She doesn't know anything about him, let alone his name, and she doesn't know whether he has a criminal record. Jordan agrees with her, but Ava reminisces about the old days when good things would happen to Jordan anytime they went out. So she believes they're in for a magical night. Despite believing that something will happen, Jordan assumes that he's at a different pub, not thinking about her. However, we see Liam gushing over her eyes and her special wallet, not only to his brother, but to the bartender as well. Shocked by his words, Mac tells the bartender they will be in touch, and as he moves on to the people waiting in line, Mac asks Liam what he's on about. Liam claims to have said what's been on his mind, but Mac reminds him they're there to talk business. He apologizes and promises to help his brother, but Jordan seems to be on his mind regardless. The girls get served some cookies, and as they're going through the flavors, the guy from the previous pub sits at their table. Stella rolls her eyes at the sight of him, but he seems to be excited to see her. Asking for her name, he tells her that he looks like Stella, but she starts arguing with him. Changing the topic, he asks about what they do, and she reveals that they're teachers. She refers to herself as an English teacher, but Jordan reveals that she used to be a music teacher with a great voice. Freddie, the guy, tells them about the Christmas carols, suggesting that she should sing on stage, and Stella decides that she's had enough. Getting up to leave, she suggests they go to Nashville Place they know that she doesn't like. Regardless, they leave the place and hop onto a pedicab to the next place. As the guy struggles to paddle, he asks them whether he can go back, but Stella doesn't let him. Coincidentally, Liam and Mac make their way to the pub where Jordan had just been. As they sit down and get served cookies, Mac goes over his business ideas, but Liam only has Jordan on his mind. They happen to be sitting at the same table as Freddie, so when Liam mentions the wallet with a house, Freddie turns around to let him know she'd left a couple of minutes ago. Liam rushes out of the place, scanning the street to find her. Mac runs after him and decides to put some sense into him. While he knows that Liam's always wanted to help people, given the wallet situation, he needs him to use his skills and help him out in his business. The only way Liam would focus on business is after finding Jordan, so he begs his brother to come to the next bar with him, so he could look for her there. Among the streets of the summit, we see the girls on the pedicab as the poor driver gives his all to get them to Nashville. Stella is the only one not chasing a man, but she can't help but worry about her friends. Knowing that Ava has Ben's number, she suggests Ava text him. Disappointed, Ava reveals that she has texted him, but he hasn't responded. She begins to doubt her decision and believes he's not interested in her. However, instead of giving up, she considers telling him she's in love first. Stella reminds her to do it at the right time, so the driver chimes in and gives her touching advice on waiting for the right time. Soon enough, they find themselves in front of the Nashville, so they waste no time going in. Ava decides to pay for the drinks, leaving Jordan and Stella to talk at the bar. Jordan goes on about love in the Christmas spirit, but Stella claims that she feels her back ache more than the love she's talking about. Finally, Jordan asks why she had decided to join them if she doesn't like any of the things they're doing. Looking into her eyes, Stella lets her know that they hadn't been out before she ended her relationship, and Jordan is shocked to hear that it has been that long. The best friends promise each other a good night before making a toast in their name. Jordan decides to hit the dance floor, impatient for Ava to return from the bathroom. Stella's not a big dancer, so she decides to grab some more drinks from the bar. At the bar, we see Mac trying to negotiate a deal, but the bartender doesn't seem to pay him attention. Liam decides to step in and manages to get the bartender's attention by suggesting they hit the floor first and then discuss numbers. The bartender seems to be fond of the idea, so he gets his hat and they hit the dance floor with Mac. Completely unaware of each other, Stella and Liam begin conversing at the bar. Liam claims not to be a Western guy while pointing to his brother on the dance floor. Stella gives him enough effort, so Liam changes his mind in seconds and decides to join his brother on the dance floor. Before he goes, he reminds Stella that the effort is more important than the result, convincing her to join her besties on the dance floor. After dancing to the music, Mac returns to the bar and asks for a glass of water. They begin discussing business when Jordan hands the bartender money for the tab. Catching a glimpse of her wallet, Mac realizes that she's the girl his brother's looking for, so he bails on his business deal and goes to find Liam on the dance floor. He finally catches him and tells him that his quest to find the girl is more important to him than the deal. The girls decide to grab a bite outside the place, and as they go to the booth, Liam and Mac run past them. Given that he'd gotten married right out of college, Mac expresses his excitement for Liam's adventure, so they decide to waste no time and hit the next spot. The girls get pizza and sit by the bench to eat it. The silence and the comfort of the warm food give the liberty to vent to each other. Ava starts by mentioning Ben and how she'd always wondered whether he wanted to go for coffee. But the problem is that he never asked. There are many things she'd thought about doing, and the girls are surprised to find out that she often goes LARPing. Feeling guilty, Ava admits they haven't done any activities together, because while Jordan was going through a breakup, Stella was upset about losing her music teaching career. Taking Ava's hand, Jordan assures her that it's just been a tough couple of months and that she wants to spend time with her. Stella decides to come clean as well, letting them know that it's easier for her to be grumpy because she doesn't like teaching English. After enjoying the delicious pizza, Jordan gives them a TED talk on life and love and advises them to feel the magic in the moment. Getting his hopes up, Liam spots a girl with similar hair to Jordan and thinks he's finally found her. However, the girl faces him, and he realizes that it's not her. Fortunately, Mac comes out with some information about an art teacher attending the summit who happens to have the same wallet. Liam decides to look her up and recognizes her through the first picture, simply by remembering her eyes. The boys race to the hill, and the girls arrive just as they turn their backs to them. While wondering what to do and where to go first, the girls get approached by Ben, so they decide to leave Ava with him. Ava tells him about the text, and he apologizes, claiming that his phone had fallen in a slush puddle. Soon enough, Ben sees his friends moving forward, so he lets her know he has to go. However, he asks to meet him at the silent disco, where he promises to buy her an eggnog. Excitedly, Ava jumps her way back to the girls where she tells them the wonderful news. They can't help but be happy for her, and given that Stella is smiling, Freddie notices her and decides to come forward. Seeing him for the third time makes her dislike him even more, so she tells him that she wants to enjoy the day with her friends and that they're not accepting another member. Jordan chimes in, claiming she and Ava don't mind having him around. Stella holds her ground, so he makes a deal with her. He suggests they race to the bottom, and if she wins, he promises to leave her alone. However, if he wins, she has to sing at the karaoke bar later. Agreeing with his proposal, she has high hopes, but as they get to the top of the hill, the girls refuse to give her any advice as they want her to sing at the bar. The race finally begins, and although Stella leads all the way, Freddie ends up coming down first, therefore winning the bet. They get on their way to the karaoke bar, despite Stella having a sour face about losing. Ava and Jordan walk behind them when Ava decides to confide in her. She admits to thinking that she might be making a fool out of herself, but Stella advises her not to let the deer win. To get her to understand even better, she references her favorite movie, and Ava finally understands that she should forget all about the negative and focus on the truth. Curious, Freddie decides to ask Stella why she isn't teaching music anymore. Stella reveals that it had been between her and another teacher, who they decided to keep as a music teacher and make her an English one. Given that she'd been working in the school for 13 years, she'd agreed to it, not wanting to be away from her best friends. Relating to her story, Freddie decides to share his. They start bonding truly, and it even brings a smile to her face as he says that they're going to have an amazing night. However, she snaps out of his and tells him to dream on while putting on the usual grumpy face. They walk back to Ava and Jordan when Freddie overhears them talking about Liam. He lets them know that he has spoken to him, but what makes Jordan the happiest is that he's looking for her. Putting their hands together, they promise to look for him, so they head to the karaoke bar immediately. At the bar, Ava goes to buy the drinks when she comes across Liam. He advises her to get whipped cream in their drinks, and she likes his offer. Seeing that her hand's shaking, he asks what's wrong, and she admits that she's going to tell Ben that she's in love. He gets taken aback, coming across someone with the same ambitions as him. However, she admits to being scared, but he promises that everything will be all right since everyone's in the Christmas spirit. After his motivational words, she tries to tell him about the guy Jordan's looking for, but the whipped cream interrupts her, so the thought slips her mind. Liam starts to lose faith as he checks the guest list and sees no art teacher on it. He complains to his brother, assuming that it's time they focused on having fun and letting the girl be just a nice experience. Surprisingly, his brother brings him back to reality by letting him know they've already built the foundation to find her. When he mentions building, a bright idea comes to Liam's mind. Looking at the last destination, he asks his brother to follow as he goes on to execute the plan, which will eventually lead him to Jordan. They exit the bar to prepare the plan, but the girls and Freddie stay for Stella's performance. Before getting on stage, she becomes doubtful because she hasn't sung in a long time. However, he manages to pull her back on the stage to sing Jingle Bells. Stella starts unsure of herself and is shy about the performance. As the song progresses, so does her performance, and she ends up singing beautifully. Hitting every high note, the crowd cheers for her, and so do her friends. But the atmosphere changes once Nick and his new girlfriend come up to the stage. They leave the bar without Freddie, as he had planned to go to the concert earlier and continue to the silent disco. At the entrance, Jordan tells them to go in while she grabs a cup of hot chocolate. She happens to run into the pedicab driver, who asks whether she's found the mysterious man. Seeing her ex with his new girlfriend had been the tip of the iceberg for her, as a feeling of emptiness began to feel inside. She complains about being out in the world like her ex and not having the same destiny as him. Meeting the mysterious guy had given her hope, but losing him had made her feel lonely. Not understanding what she's sad about, the guy asks her to snap out of it. She has a great friend that she needs to be grateful for, and he advises her that she should never cry over a guy. Feeling misunderstood, she let him know that it had been a connection like no other. Finally, he lets her know that she's in control of her happiness, and she understands him completely. Listening to his advice, she decides to go in and dance the night away, not before giving him a big hug. Inside the disco, as Ava and Stella are getting used to the loud music, Stella spots Ben dancing on the dance floor, so she asks Ava to turn around. Turning around, Ava sees her true love dancing by himself and somehow gets pulled to him. He tries to make small talk, but she goes straight to the point. Firstly, she tells him that she thinks about him a lot, and if her time was divided into pie slices, the biggest one would be for how much time she spends thinking about him. Finally, "I love you," slips out of her mouth as she lets her emotions guide her. Luckily, Ben feels the same, and he proves it by leaning in for a kiss. Stella screams out of excitement, congratulating them on finally admitting their feelings for each other. Nevertheless, she begins to wonder where Jordan is, and a big smile grows on Ava's face as she points to the dance floor. A careless and free-spirited Jordan jumps on the dance floor as she sways her hips to the rhythm. Breaking the song, the DJ reminds the public to vote for the best gingerbread house, so Jordan rushes to it. Walking, she immediately lays eyes on a familiar house, and as she walks closer, she realizes that it's her dream house. The mystery man had made the house of her dreams and left a note inside it. On the note, he asks her to come to the concert by the lighten tree and wait for him to show. Almost immediately, the squad and Ben head to the park with the pedicab. Regardless of the outcome, whether she gets to meet the guy or not, Jordan decides to thank her best friends for being by her side and giving her one of the best nights she's ever had. They finally arrive at the park and leave Jordan by the tree. Before wishing her good luck, the countdown begins, and as it comes to 0, Jordan doesn't see anyone looking for her, and therefore loses hope. However, a voice behind her asks what her favorite holiday is, and as they give the same answer, she turns around and finally sees the guy of his dreams. He had encouraged her with his vulnerability, so she took a chance and let him know that he was funny, kind, beautiful, and everything she was looking for in a man. It makes him smile, so she asks what's the next move. He asks her not to think, just to react as he leans in, and they share their long-awaited kiss. The squad comes to cheer them on, but their attention goes to the stage as Freddie appears to be the lead singer of the band. They join the crowd and Stella can't help but go to the front. Seeing her at the front, He invites her to the stage, and they sing together. Ava, Ben, and Jordan join them on stage as well. And before the brothers get on, Mac tells Liam that he loves him for the first time in a long time, shocking Liam. They hug it out and join their friends on stage where they dance and enjoy the music and the magic that they've experienced at the Santa Summit.